Hey friends, I'm Ellington. Thanks for starting your First 20 with me today. Today we're going to be talking about how we serve a God who is one of a kind. Let's read Psalm 113, beginning with verse 5 together. It says, "Who can be compared with the Lord our God, who is enthroned on high? He stoops to look down on heaven and on earth. He lifts the poor from the dust and the needy from the garbage dump. He sets them among princes, even the princes of his own people." Let's talk about this verse by verse. Verse 5 says, "Who can be compared with the Lord our God?" So we start off here acknowledging and declaring that we serve a God who is incomparable. There is no one like him. The second part says, "Who is enthroned on high." Enthroned indicates that he's seated on a throne. That means he is king. So he's an incomparable God and king. And the on high part means that he is seated in heavenly places, far above any circumstance, far above any difficulty that we may have. He is king and Lord and creator over all. Verse 6 says, "He stoops to look down on heaven and on earth." So we serve a God who not only is high and lifted up, enthroned, the God and king who is incomparable and he's creator, but he stoops down and he sees us. So stooping isn't just looking with your eyes. It isn't just casting a gaze upon, but it's getting up out of your thrones and bending down, leaning over to help someone up. That is the kind of God that we serve, a God who is compassionate and merciful. And verse 7 says just that. It says, "He lifts the poor from the dust and the needy from the garbage dump." Now, I don't think the psalmist necessarily meant someone who is in financial need, although it could include those kinds of people. I also think it means something that Matthew talks about in the Beatitudes, and it says something that Jesus said. It says in Matthew 5:3, "God blesses those who are poor and realize their need for him." So those who are poor aren't necessarily those who have financial needs, but are those who are lacking the presence of God in their lives. And that can be all of us at some point. There are times in our lives when we don't see that we need God to intervene in our circumstances. So let me tell you a story. Imagine a small child thinking they're big and wanting to dress themselves. So they attempt to put on their shirt, maybe backwards, or put on their pants and their socks and their shoes. But after about 20 minutes, you peek in to see they have two legs and one pant leg and their head through an arm sleeve and not looking quite right. You ask, "Hey, can I help?" Their response is, "No, I can do it." And aren't we like that? God gives us these things to do. He calls us to things. And then we think incorrectly that we can do it by ourselves, that we don't need his help. In that moment, we are those who are poor. We are those who are needy. But as we recognize and acknowledge our need for him, that's the moment when our incomparable, our God and King can stoop down. And in verse number 7, it says, "He lifts us up." That's when he stoops down and lifts us up, when we acknowledge our need for him. Now, he doesn't just lift us up into a life of mediocrity and just kind of sets us and leaves us alone. Verse 8 says, "He sets them among princes, even the princes of his own people." So he lifts us up from the dust, from the garbage dump, and sets us in a place of royalty. We are children of a God who is King of kings and Lord of lords, and he loves us and shows compassion on us and is merciful because that is who he is. It has nothing to do with who we are. It's who he is that raises us up to be considered royalty and part of his family. So for your First 20 today, I want you to think about those places where you could be poor and in need of him. Invite him into those spaces. Repent for trying to do things on your own and invite him in and say, "Lord, I really need your help with this thing, this circumstance, this situation. This thing that you've called me to is far above what I can do." And watch and see what he does for you. May the Lord bless you as you pursue our one-of-a-kind God and King.